Wolfgang.
Here.
William Ross.
Here.
Mary Lynn Candela.
Here.
Robert Cliff.
Here.
Scott Bridges.
Here.
Clifford Scott.
Here.
Jason Krempa.
Here.
Kevin McCabe is excused.
Thank you. Introduction of guests. Around the table.
Mark Gabriel, Agency Counsel.
Mike Kirby, agency staff.
Andrea Kleisman, agency staff.
Carrie Crusoe, agency staff.
Sue Barone, agency staff.
Great, thank you. We stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 5.0, approval of the meeting minutes from August 11th. Mr. Ross?
So moved.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Wolfgang. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 6.0, Finance and Audit Committee reports. Mr. Ross, could you present those, please?
Yes, I checked the agency payables, so I found them in order, and certainly I make the motion.
Second.
Mr. Bridges, second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. You do both of those at the same time?
The budget variance report, again, I checked it very closely. I found it in good order, and I recommend approval.
Second.
Motion.
Mr. Bridges, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 7.1, Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. EW and KS Holdings LLC, we held a public hearing at the Village of Youngstown office on August 30th at 10 a.m. There were public comments that were made at the hearing, and we also received 2 emails, one from the Village of Youngstown Board of Trustees and one from Mr. Johnston, the Town Board of Supervisor. I believe all these comments were circulated to the board. Overall, everyone was generally supportive of the project, but there was an objection to the pilot as originally presented to this board. The town has requested that the pilot be provided on the improvements only and not on the existing, not apply to the existing building. We presented this project to the board with the pilot to be applied to the existing building because there's been past practice to do that on vacant buildings that have been vacant over a year, which certainly applies to this building. It's been vacant for several years. We've done this on many projects, so, and like I said, I believe all the comments have been circulated to the board. Mark, I don't know if you have any additional comments?
If I could, thank you, Andrew. Just as a reminder to the board, there are a couple of our policies that come into play under this particular project. The first policy Andrea alluded to is we've attempted, this board has for a number of years attempted to encourage the reuse of existing buildings that have been abandoned for a period of time, usually at least over a year. In this particular case, this building was abandoned, I believe, about 5.5 years vacant.
At least. That we can verify.
However, so it would fall within that. However, there was an interesting aside, which, you know, obviously would be under consideration for the board. This building, though, was purchased by the company in 2019, middle of 2019, for $180,000 with the anticipation of going forward with the project. COVID shut that door down completely. It remained vacant and continues to remain vacant at this time because of the prices and the changes of the project. That is why they ended up coming to our agency, that they needed help in order to go forward because of the increase in construction costs, COVID, et cetera. So I just wanted to point out the first part of why originally we included the existing facility. Now let me say this, not that this is a massive project, it is not. The total assessed value on this project is $240,000. as it sits today, is $277,000. Yes, they paid $180 for it just 2 years ago, so that is the number of what we're dealing with. Out of that, though, 71,000 is for land only. Land is taxed at 100%, and one of the letters you'll see they're asking us to not exempt out land. We don't exempt out land. We don't have the power to exempt out land. Our policy is very clear on that. So that is an easy request that we can grant to them, since that's what we do anyway, so they were kind of mistaken by the land comment. So we're only looking at, on the existing building, $200,000 of assessed value going forward, which was included. The major benefit would be the sales tax and any increase, which will get me to the next point. We use a 15-year pilot because, as I think I mentioned in the email to everyone, retail and or amusement type facilities get a 5-year, recreation facilities get a 5-year standard pilot. That's where we start as a staff. Commercial are hotels and commercial buildings. Manufacturing, industrial, distribution, those types are 15-year pilots. Manufacturing of beer was clearly a 15-year pilot, and that's why 15 years was used in this particular instance, and would be used if it was in any other jurisdiction. So I just wanted to explain. Our UTEP allows you as a board to determine, though, at the time, what kind of pilot you want. They can ask, the company can ask, we would set forth what our standard numbers are. If you agree with the standard policies, then you can accept them and move forward. If the board would like further discussion and discuss maybe something different, you certainly have the power to do that throughout this period of time with no issues whatsoever going forward. But I did want to point out again that we could do a lesser pilot for 10 years. We could move and most of those benefits and consolidate them if we choose to. I think I gave you the options that are available. There are other options as well. There was a comment in here that one of the comments said it was already in the construction, which is concerning to us, but Andrea and Sue actually drove to the facility. It's not under construction. It hasn't been, not only hasn't been built yet, they don't even have architectural drawings on it yet, so I'm not sure where one of these comments came from on this. And finally, I just wanted to point out, when we do these cost-benefit analysis, we do it with our best estimates. Sue does it, staff does it, because we as an agency have no control over the assessed value. In our cost benefit, we may say the final building is worth $620 or $550 or $575. We only do our best guess that we can do, because the assessor for that jurisdiction has full control over what that assessed value would be. It may be more, it might be less, but the way our pilots are used, depending on, it's based on percentages. So if that person had a higher assessed value, they would get more of a pilot benefit. If it was less of assessed value, they would get less of a pilot benefit from us. But we usually attempt to make a mistake on the high end, because we don't want to have to go back and say, oh shoot, we didn't tell the jurisdictions that it was going to be more. We'd much rather have it be lower going forward on these types of projects. So in this particular case, and again, do I anticipate this being assessed at that number? No, I don't think it ever comes out to be that number. That assessor for the village of Youngstown will have full control when this project is done to assess the fair amount of assessment to that particular project, as well as our documents allow the company to challenge any assessment that may be out of line, just like they would if we weren't involved. So I just wanted to kind of explain the background on that and take any questions in regards to process, policy, any concerns that were brought out by the village and or some of its residents here.
So at the end of the day, it's $289,357. That's going to be over a 15-year period, right? So the project is set at that cost.
I believe that is the maximum. Again, if the assessed value on the building is less, it'll be much less than that. And
They're gonna create 20 direct jobs, right?
that is mine, yes, that is minimum over 3 years.
Minimum. And there's 20 jobs that we don't have in that community as it stands today, right?
Yes.
So what's the issue?
Well, I think one of their concerns is, if I was going to say the major concern, and the way I've read through it is not that, I don't, even though there's some concerns about going 15 years, I think the major one was to assess, to include in the, subject the existing building to the pilot instead of having it pay what it's paying today. They're saying, I think what they want to do is just, whatever you're paying today on your existing building as it stands, you pay, and then we'll give you the pilot on the rest of it, along with your sales tax, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's, and it's a question for this board of what they would choose to do. You know, and I told you our policy on vacant buildings.
It's kind of interesting because I live very close to there, and I can tell you that the village of Youngstown has not been a booming business area. In fact, on the main street, there's a restaurant building that has had 2 different owners and is empty, and it's been for sale, and it hasn't sold. So what I'm saying really is that I think the village struggles to try and make it a better business community and get more action there. So I think some of this, back to you about the taxes and the assessment, is that they're struggling in trying to keep everything going, and they don't want to lose anything. That building, unfortunately, it has been unoccupied and had several different grocery stores in it that were not successful. So again, I understand where they're coming from, but I agree with you, 20 jobs is 20 jobs. And the average salary there is much higher for the brewmaster and the people they're looking for. So I don't see a problem with the project.
Any other questions?
What's the real impact between the 10 and the 15?
It would be 5 more years at 50%. The impact on the difference between existing and non-existing isn't massive. And the reason why, keeping in mind that the land is already at 100%. It's that way anyway, so you were more than a third of the way home with that request immediately going forward. So, yeah, that part isn't immediate. I think, you know, the 15-year would have a fairly sizable effect on the size of this project. But I can't talk to the company. I think the company is here if you do have any questions to the company. Is that, I thought it was, didn't notice you with the mask on. So I guess before we go down, if we could have a discussion before we vote on anything. You know, I think I sent you an email with various options, you know, and then, you know, like to have the board have any discussion on what type of action they'd like to move forward on. Would it be the whole project, including the existing building, and for 15 years, or would they like to exclude the existing building for 15 years? The other option is excluding the existing building and only doing 10, or including the existing building and only doing 10. There's really 4 options, but also keep in mind, this board has the ability to do anything inside that framework, whether it's condensing benefits or anything along those lines.
Mark, can I just say one thing? I'm not sure if you mentioned it at the beginning of your comments, but a 15-year pilot is generally what we use for manufacturing, a processing production facility, which this is. That's why we went with that.
Could we hear from the gentleman from the company?
Of course.
Hi, Mr. Wolfgang, how are you?
Yeah, myself, my name is Ken Shavetta. I'm the co-owner of the Griffin. My business partner is on his way here. There's construction, which is really fun and took me all the way around down Niagara Boulevard. But we've never, so this is our fourth business in Niagara County. We've never asked for a penny. We never needed any money. We never wanted any money. We're happy to get anything that you're willing to give us, and we're Niagara County guys. You know, we live in Niagara County, and I have a house in Wilson. Ed lives in Lewiston. We've created hundreds of jobs, spent well over $1 million in Niagara County, and never asked for a single penny. So anything that you could do would be amazing. And I think our past performance will show you what we can do. And we don't give up. We've never closed a single one of our businesses. We've grown from 2 employees to well over 200 in 10 years. And we continue to grow and grow and grow. So this is one project where we're just going to keep going, and we love Niagara County and we love Youngstown. We see the potential, especially when you have a brewery in Wilson in the middle of absolutely nowhere that's busy all the time. And this is actually in Youngstown, where there's actually a throughway exit right off the Robert Moses there. So the potential's there. We love the residents, and we love the space and that parking lot and the potential. And I know there was concern. I heard the concern about the construction end of things. All we've done is really just clean out the building. We've dug some trenches and stuff like that, but as far as any construction, we've done nothing. We had to fix water lines. Literally, there was nothing in the building. All the water lines cracked over the winters. The building flooded. We've ripped out most of the electrical, basically just some raw demo, and that's really about it. We filled about 4 construction dumpsters worth of garbage and coolers and things along those lines, but that's just Ed and myself. We get really eager and go in there and do our things. So.
The brewery potentially has a lot of use connected to your 4 restaurants, correct?
Correct.
And do you have any idea of the amount that you will need just to take care of your 4?
The volume? Ed knows more about the actual specifics of how much beer we're going to be able to produce, but with the current setup that we've already plan on ordering and things along those lines, it will be more than enough to support all 4 of our locations, which is great. It's built-in success. I mean, we have 4 locations that are crazy busy, and we do some heavy volume, and so now that we'll be able to produce our own beer in Youngstown and then sell it at our restaurants, it's a win-win for us.
Any other comments?
I have a general question. Do we need to discuss or at least bring up the point and again, maybe this has been, and I apologize, but would there be, does the but-for issue come up where this wouldn't be a deal, that this project wouldn't be feasible if it was not for this incentive?
Well, that's pretty much in everything we do. Again, they said they've never gone ahead and asked for help before, and they were going to build this in 2019 before COVID hit, according to our prior discussions. Only now, because of COVID and the increase in construction costs, they actually come to us, about trying to get this help to go forward. His partner is probably a little bit more frank. He seems to be very kind, but he's been fairly clear to us that this is what they need to move this project forward.
Other comments? Questions? Sounds like a really good shot in the arm for both the company and for Youngstown itself. So, are you opposed to a 15-year?
Yeah, that's a great idea, Mark. If we could, just let's figure out if the board is more inclined for, we'll first do 15, whether it's a 10 or 15 year, and then afterwards, whether or not they would want to keep the existing facility included in the 15-year or exclude the existing facility, which has a value of about $200,000. So I guess on the 15-year, what does everyone think between the 10 and 15 year?
What do you guys recommend on that?
That's tough for us. I think a 15-year is appropriate, because this is exactly the type of manufacturing that we always do. I hate to vary from our from our norms. You know, we try to stay within those guidelines very clearly, and please, so if I'm mistaken, you know, please jump in. The existing's a little bit different. This is a tougher one because they did own it for a period of a year and a half, even though it's still vacant and has been vacant. And they were going forward, and it's not a big impact on the whole thing, and it's something that we do try to keep in mind, the affected taxing jurisdictions concerns and so.
Based on COVID-19 was the reason why it didn't go forward.
Correct.
I'd recommend in the form of a motion 15 years.
I concur. I think a 15 years is appropriate for me, if it's true manufacturing.
Does everybody,
Truly manufacturing.
does everybody believe for 15 years? Okay. So now whether or not, you know, I think the major concern then would be whether to include the existing facility in the 15-year pilot. Now, the land is already excluded, 71 million or 71,000, would be another existing building value of about a little over 200,000.
I don't understand why we have to do that. In other words, why the building isn't included.
Well, normally we would never include something that's existing, only on the vacant portion of it. And normally we wouldn't have this question or this conversation. But because this board has always had these types of discussions when we have concerns from affecting taxing jurisdictions in particular. I mean, the public comments are very important to the agency, and we do, but when a jurisdiction like the village sends a letter to us, our board usually takes a little closer look at their concerns and doesn't, you know, especially because it's the local municipality, we don't want to, we'll certainly address their concerns and go forward with it. That's the whole reason we're having the conversation. Normally, you know, it was just one random letter and there was no basis, we would just move forward and wouldn't have the conversation. So, I just like to have it on the record too, that we discussed everything and that we went through this detail, and the board after this consideration decided to go forward in a specific manner. I think that would be appropriate. So we're at a 15-year.
So is there a net reduction in the tax roll to Youngstown itself if we exempt out?
For the first 4 years.
For the first 4
That's,
years.
it's, for the village, it would be, I think, a total of maybe $500 to $600 for the first 2 years and a couple hundred, I think about $1,500 over the first 4 years.
Cumulative.
Cumulative over the first 4 years.
But after the first.
Then after the 4 years, then it starts to be on the positive side going forward in year 5 through 15.
I don't want to speak for the village, but it seems very short-sighted for them to be balking at a net of $1,500 over 4 years. I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
I think the business itself is shot.
You would think. You would think. And if, I mean, and even if 12 of the 20 employees are Youngstown residents, I mean, the benefits got to multiply out. I mean, whatever the number would be, and who would know statistically who's going to be Youngstown? But
Anybody disagree with including the building?
If those 20 people are able to do anything in the village of Lewiston, have lunch, dinners, or whatever, the sales tax
Yeah.
will benefit.
I'll weigh it. I agree.
I think we're settled on a 15-year including the building.
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
I will move.
Mr. Crumpo?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We need a roll call vote.
We do, thank you.
Mr. Wolfgang?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Candela?
Yes.
Mr. Cliff?
Yes.
Mr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Crumpler?
Yes.
Mr. Onesi?
Yes. Thank you, motion carries. Appreciate it. Thank you. 7.2, Micro Enterprise OCR grant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. NCIDA staff applied on behalf of the county. Only municipalities can apply for these funding, so we applied on behalf of the county. And we're asking the board to approve an agreement between the NCDC and Niagara County to administer the awarded amount, which is $300,000, to continue the micro enterprise program.
There's no issues at all.
Do we have any questions, comments? I need a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Okay, Mr. Krempa, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Request for roll call.
Mr. Wolfgang?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Candela?
Yes.
Mr. Cliff?
Aye.
Mr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Krempa?
Yes.
Mr. Onesi?
Yes. Thank you. New business, Leah Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Ivy League Construction is an existing, project, actually also known as, I believe, 767 Walk Road. They are refinancing, their debt with M&T Bank, and as pursuant to our project documents, it requires the consent of the agency to move forward with the refinance. We reviewed the existing pilot. They are paid up to date. They're not in default in any way, shape, or form. Therefore, I'm requesting that the board approve a resolution consenting to this refinance.
Questions? Comments? Then we need a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Clerk?
Second.
Mr. Ross? All in favor? Any opposed? We need a roll call.
No, I'm fine. We'll be fine.
8.2, Mass Mutual.
Thank you. Mass Mutual Asset Finance LLC has submitted an application to the agency. They are requesting that they be allowed to assume the existing project currently held by Reister Wheatfield USA LLC, which prior to that was CO8 LLC. This is the second assignment. Basically, this is something which we do on occasion, but basically they will step into the shoes of the existing company. They will continue to guarantee the use of the project, the existing employment of the project, and I believe there's a remaining 4 or 5 years left on the pilot. So, what we're asking for is a resolution approved by this board agreeing to the assignment of assumption of the pilot by Mass Mutual Asset Finance. And I will read the roll call.
Everything stays the same.
Nothing changes.
Any questions or comments? We have a motion.
I'll move it.
Mr. Cliff?
Second.
Mr. Ross? Any opposed? All in favor? Motion carries. We need a roll call.
Mr. Wolfgang?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Candela?
Yes.
Mr. Cliff?
Yes.
Mr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Krempa?
Yes.
Mr. Onesi?
Yes. Motion carries. All right, 9.0, agency council comments?
I do have something to bring up if you don't mind. Sure. I believe the board remembers our project, which is Niagara Shores Campground and Conference Center LLC. This was an RLF EDA loan, dating back to the the end of 2019. And at that point, a loan in the amount, I believe, of about $130,000 or something along those lines was granted to the company. They're based upon, they bring in conferences and campground and whatnot. Due to COVID, they went into some very, very hard times. They fell behind. They've attempted on a number of occasions to catch up. They have caught up to a certain degree, but they're still a few months behind. They're concerned going into the winter months that they may go further behind because it's basically a summer generated business with income, and they have sent in a significant amount of money over these summer years. So what they're asking this board to consider, right now, there's an outstanding balance of $102,784 on this. What they're asking for, obviously the interest rate would stay the same. They're asking for an extension of this payment term and amortization to include the next 6 months of interest only, followed by re-amortize it for another additional year. They believe that would allow them to get back on their feet by next summer and to be whole and move forward. So, any questions on this, I'd be happy to answer, or Carrie, who's been working with this company over the last year or so.
Is it the one out near Alcott? Is that out on the?
I believe it is. Is it out in Alcott?
Yeah.
Questions?
If we
Ross,
go-
you want to say something?
No, I'm very familiar with the camp. I can remember when it was a Christian camp there, and then Solar Winter Recreation. It's really a beautiful camp.
It is. They've actually,
But
my
I always
understanding, has
wondered,
sold something.
do they have enough conferences during the winter to, meet, that, but, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, the nice thing is they are down, they've already paid almost $30,000 off of our debt. And they have made some strides in trying to pay as much as they could during the season. So, and I was very happy that they came to us before the issues arose in the winter to ask for the board's help, just not
Be a slowdown for them, not very much.
We need a motion for this?
I looked right at the banker just to see this stuff.
No, it makes all the sense in the world. It's a small dollar amount. If they've been working with us,
They have.
why would you,
Settle.
yeah, why would you do that?
Okay.
We need a motion.
I'll make that motion, yeah.
Mr. Ross?
Yeah.
And Mr. Cranko? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We need a roll call.
We don't.
Gosh, great. Any other information, questions, comments?
The only small informational item is, due to the COVID, some of the new restrictions, open meetings law has been relaxed again. So we're eligible to, at least I believe we'll continue to be eligible, to hold these meetings remotely at sometime in the future, depending on what takes place. The board recommend, or would like to do that. So I know Sue was gonna bring that up and keep in discussions with both Mark and Jerry and see which way we'll go forward. If this is okay for everyone, this is no issue. If it gets a little worse than with the winter months, then we'll maybe rethink it. Okay. That's the only information. Anything else?
All right, if there's nothing else, our next meeting is October 13th, and I make a motion that we adjourn. Ms. Wolfman, second. All in favor?
Aye.
If nobody's opposed. Thank you.
Thanks. I always look at how I have the cheapest thing with my stuff. I usually think.
Never paid for
I'm allergic to retail. Why, Jerry, why not? They're perfectly good. I would use these things. Jerry, thank you. Nice. How do I need you to make those arguments. I wanted those arguments on the record. That's why I pushed for it. You did exactly what we were hoping. And we thought it was the right answer, but I wanted those arguments on the record, the tape on the record. That it was brought up, and here's the reason why I didn't want to go forward. You guys did perfect. Thank you very much. I can count on you. You guys.
If you can come from you guys, yeah, rather as opposed to.
Right. Terminated at that point. We need a letter from them. The best way would be, so that we have to take formal action. Possibility of, you have a good week. Law. It would make sense for that, to explain the COVID is not a project that it won't be going forward.
That's not
Requesting that.
It's so funny, so we've been taking the same picture for the first day of school every morning.
So.
So I can't believe how old my kids are getting. Today they were determined, they changed it this year, they let them wear, dress down for the first day of school, which they've never been able to before. Yeah, they got a new principal this year. I know.
That would be something to discuss with the city. First and foremost.
Yeah, but she's probably gonna start. She is 4'11". Yeah. Yeah.
I signed at the bottom
I
line.
noticed the first couple though were on top.
I know, I forgot.
Sign whatever you want. I'm gonna start signing.
Our doctor says that they're gonna keep growing till the meeting. You know?
Yeah, once they start, yeah.
I don't want to talk about that.